Here's a drill that I use a lot for both colts and finished horses. This is a 4-year-old gelding by I'm a Firefighter. He is still pretty green. I've had him on the pattern for maybe a month now, and he's high loping through pretty good. And so I'm going to come back to this drill to really reinforce the exact body parts where everything is supposed to be individually. So I'm going to trot up to these barrels. I'm going to sit and ask him to gather up and stop. The first thing that this reinforces is that my sit does not mean turn. Really want to make that clear to them that sit means gather yourself up and prepare for the turn. It does not mean turn. So that's why I'm going to stop him and not turn. So you can see here I asked him to stop. First I asked him to gather up and then come to a stop. And you can see I put my right leg on, ask for him to move his hip over. And that right there is the position that you want them to have going into the barrel. You want their rib cage and their back to be round. You want them to be soft in the face, giving to your inside rein, hip in. And then you can see I kind of roll him out. So this is going to reinforce hip in, shoulder up. And I'm not even going to turn the barrel. I'm just going to go on to the next barrel. I'm going to let him relax and move out a little bit along here. Let him uncollect, because that's what we're going to do in a run. We're going to run to the next barrel and then sit and collect again. So I'm going to ask him to gather. Really nice soft gather there. I don't like to stuff horses into the ground because that's not what we do in a run. I like them to soften and gather themselves up and stay relaxed. So here he comes to a stop. Now right here, you can see me messing with his head. He's already giving me his head vertically, but what I really want him to do is to relax his poll a little bit and then drop at the shoulder a little bit where his neck ties into his shoulder. Because right here, all I have is his face, but his back is still hollow. So what I really want him to do is to relax his head a little bit. And I'm also asking for his hip at the same time, which, as you can see, he can't quite do both at the same time yet. But we're working on that. That was a nice hip movement. Ask him to rock his weight back and then step over. Relax, trot out to the next barrel. Come to a stop, hip in, which is very nice, and roll away using the inside rein. Hip in, very nice. Right there, if you can see that, right there, how he pops his back up. He really rounds his back out right there. You can see my saddle pop up. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And right there, he wasn't quite rolling off of my inside rein as sharp as I wanted, so I just did a little counter arc there to reinforce that. That was very nice there. So when you're asking for the hip to come in, you want to keep their head and neck straight, if not pointed towards the barrel, ideally. You never want to pull their head to the outside to ask for the hip. In the beginning, you're going to have to teach them, but once they understand what you're asking for, you always want to keep their head pointed in the same direction that their hip is going, because that's how we're going to approach the barrel. You want the hip in, nose in, and the shoulder and ribs out. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get him to do here. Gonna post, relax, let him trot out, and then ask for it again. Another thing I want to reinforce, and that I am reinforcing when I do this, is my own body position. So a lot of times when horses get to shouldering, we drop our inside shoulder and weight our inside hip when we need to be doing the opposite. So you can see that when I'm doing these things, I'm also working on my good muscle memory. By sitting, I'm staying square. You can see here as I'm asking for the stop, my shoulders are still square and level. And then right here, my weight's on my right hip because I'm asking for his hip to move away and to the inside. My shoulders are still square. And you can see that neither of us are really looking at the barrel. And all of this is exactly how we should be ideally approaching a barrel in a run. Staying square, looking at our pocket, not the barrel. My shoulders are square. I'm focusing on my approach to the barrel and not the barrel turn itself, because if my approach is good and my horse and I both stay square, then the turn is going to be good. If I were worrying about the turn itself, then we would probably start shouldering and leaning. So right here you can see he's kind of starting to get a little fidgety and upset. Maybe it's the next time around. I'm kind of asking him to do a little more on his own all the time and be a little crisp about it. You can see kind of he's starting to get a little more agitated, and that's okay. We need to teach these horses to be okay under pressure. So right here you can see he was getting a little agitated, starting to throw his face because he was getting frustrated that he wasn't getting the release. And so I got what I wanted. I got his hip in and his shoulder out. So then I'm going to go ahead and reward that. Stop, let him relax and think a little bit. It's really important to let him stop and think and process. But I like to let them get a little agitated if they're going to, and then reward them after that, to reward them for thinking. Because we can teach these horses to think. And I mean, a lot of that is genetic in the individual horse, but we can also teach it. And so I like to put a little bit of pressure on and, not pick on them or anything. And you have to know where the individual horse is at and what they're ready for. But you can ask them to do a little bit more than they're ready for, and then reward them for it and let them think. And it's really going to develop their mind to where they can continue to think through pressure and to really think and process about what's going on instead of just reacting. So right here, I kind of reinforce that again. You can see all the way up here, he's very relaxed. He's dropped his whole neck just a touch, stops really softly, and you can see right there, he actually moves his hip in by himself before I even asked for it. So I'm going to really reward him there. You can see how much softer he is already. He's licking his lips a little bit. So right about here, I'm deciding to quit for the day because he gave me one perfect approach. And if I've been working on something for a while, like at this point, I'd probably been doing this drill for about 20 minutes because I started before I turned the camera on. So, right here where he was getting agitated and I let him rest, that was a big, kind of a breakthrough moment for his mind, because as you can see, this last approach, he's relaxed the whole way. And he keeps his head where I want it for the most part. He steps in by himself, so I'm going to reward him right there, and I'm going to quit for the day. I'm not going to ask for it again. This is really, like I say, going to develop his mind and really reinforce that that's exactly what I wanted him to do. So I'm not going to try to do it again. We're going to quit right there. And that makes a big difference in their progress. When you quit right away, the first time you get something really good, it really reinforces to them that that's exactly what you wanted. And they're going to keep thinking about that all day. It's going to soak in. So here I kind of waited for him to drop his head again. I even asked him with my reins a little bit to relax again. This horse is kind of a reactive horse, and like I say, he's really just pretty green yet too. He kind of was sore when he came in, and we've been working on some chiropractic issues and whatnot. So anyways, I just waited for him to relax again before I uncinch him. He's kind of checking me out, checking the dog out. You can see he's relaxed again. He dropped his head. He's looking and chewing. So that's when I'm going to go ahead and uncinch him. And all those little things are just to continue to help developing his mind and reinforce to him that even when I'm asking a lot of him and he doesn't quite understand, that he can stay relaxed and think through things, and I'm going to reward him for that. So, yeah, hope this helps. That's something that I use a lot for teaching and for shouldering horses, and also to keep my body position good. So I hope that helps you.